Hey guys, what's up? My name is Anthony, and welcome to another edition of BNA Sports Talk. So what I really want to talk about today is Freddie Kitchens and the Cleveland Browns, and that's what we're going to stay. So if you don't like that topic, I guess, you can click off the video, but I'd continue to listen because I think I have some key points that are going to be interesting that not a lot of people are talking about. So the first thing I would like to compare Freddie Kitchens to, he just doesn't get it. You know, when you have a sickness or an illness inside, it's not the coughing that kills you. It's not the sneezing that kills you. It's not the rash that kills you. It's the virus itself that infects all your cells and kills you. Now, I'm not saying Freddie Kitchens is the virus on this team. Actually, I wouldn't go as far to say that, but now I'm starting to think it's pretty close. But he doesn't understand that there are symptoms of things wrong with the team. You know, the whole Odell thing with the visor. He's bundled up a little bit. You know, it's the Myles Garrett, the helmet swing. It's the guy with the who called out everybody on Instagram and Twitter saying, you guys don't understand. Those are the symptoms of the big problem. It's Freddie Kitchens wearing that jersey. It's them not getting off of stories. Those are the symptoms to the problem within this team. It's not that caused them to play bad, because the team is going to play well. The team is going to go out and play. But it's the internal, it's a bad look. It's just a culmination of everything. And Freddie Kitchens doesn't see the forest from the trees. He doesn't see it. He's like, oh no, we were ready. He doesn't see the outside view looking in. He doesn't see other teams playing harder when they play you. Don't create bulletin board material. You know, Freddie Kitchens doesn't understand the NFL, and that's concerning to me. And that's why I think he should be fired at the end of the year. He's gotten away from some of his core principles. He's using late developing routes with his team. Recently, he's been better with that. He's using late developing routes with a team with a horrible offensive line. You know, the team is undisciplined in every single aspect. I thought Baker Mayfield and Odell was supposed to be the combination of the century. I bought into it too. I'm like, there's no way this isn't successful. Like, you look at a crystal ball and you're like, yeah, this is probably going to work out, but ended up not working out. And then on the other side of the field, you have Mike Tomlin, who's going to start creating confusion here. It's like, okay, so he's a coach who's, decent. We kept him for a while, but he doesn't settle with mediocrity. Mike Tomlin. He doesn't settle with, let's go 6-10 this year. That organization doesn't settle with that. So that's going to create some high standards. Now, the next level up is New England, but Pittsburgh knows at this point that they can't be New England, but, they can be a step below them. A lot of teams are going to look for their Bill Belichick, but, Mike Tomlin is good enough. He's good enough to get you in the playoffs and give you a fighting chance. A lot of teams are looking for their Bill Belichick. That's why they take chances on guys who may not work out. That's why Cleveland's probably going to hire somebody else. They're shooting for the stars. But I think they just settle with consistency and good enough and just a guy that's going to create some accountability in this locker room. We realize now for years and years Mike Tomlin was dealing with all this stuff from AB and maybe even Santonio Holmes and all the other diva wide receivers. I'm not sure how far back this goes. Maybe to the Hines Ward era with Troy Polamalu. I don't even know. I don't know how far this goes back, but Mike Tomlin creates accountability with this team, and it's going to create a little bit of anxiety with some teams. You're going to be like, okay, so he's a long-tenured coach who's, consistent, but how do we know our coach is good? And it's going to create a lot of questions and a lot of, it's going to create a lot of confusion. You have a guy named Duck Hodges, and they're 7-5. I had them at 11-5 this season, but if you had to say, Ben Roethlisberger's not going to play a single snap, and they'd still, be in playoff contention, the worst they can be right now is 7-9. I'd say that's a successful year. This team does not settle with all right. They're consistently good, and that it's hard for a team to do that. But if you're like the Giants and the Redskins, you're like, okay, we've been 5-11, 6-10, 6-10. You think one of these years we'd be a good team, but no, it's going to create a lot of confusion with some teams, and that's interesting. But moving back to Freddie Kitchens and the Browns, they have some choices that they can make here. You can go for Lincoln Riley. You can go for a, what's the guy's name out of Washington State University? I always forget his name. It comes in and out. Mike Leach. You can go for a guy like that with an air raid and Baker Mayfield, but I think they have two good running backs right now, and they can be using them in an offense. Like maybe bring in Ron Rivera, bring in a Mike McCarthy, bring in some accountability in this locker room, and bring in just a guy that you're going to bring in for the long term, like Tampa. They brought in Bruce Arians. They could have brought in a guy to, we're going to fix Jameis Winston, and we're going to use, Mike Evans, and we're going to use, Connor Barwin, whoever, and we're going to create an amazing team. Goodwin, that's his name. And we're going to create an amazing team, and we're going to do a air raid flashy. But no, we're going to bring in a guy, Bruce Arians, who's going to create some accountability with Jameis Winston, ground him. You haven't heard a bunch of things about Jameis Winston with Ubers and crab legs this year. And that's because Bruce Arians fit with Jameis Winston. Freddie Kitchens doesn't fit in Cleveland. He has a southern accent up north. That doesn't fit. It's kind of like somebody with like a Bronx accent playing in California, coaching in California. It just doesn't fit. Mike Tomlin feels Pittsburgh. He's tough. Bill Belichick feels New England. Then you have some guys like Pat Shurmur. He doesn't really feel New York, but Dave Gettleman kind of feels New York. He has that accent. He has that Brooklyn accent. You have to figure out what fits. And what I think fits with Cleveland is a guy who's not going to be all buddy-buddy with his players, and it's going to be a guy like maybe a Ron Rivera, who's, he's known for as a little more of a southern guy, but he's tough. He's built. Maybe a guy like Mike McCarthy, Green Bay, bring him back into the league. He didn't really work with Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers and Baker Mayfield are the same type of personality, but Baker Mayfield's going to have to mature somewhat. You want to use your guy's strength. Baker Mayfield may indeed fit with a Lincoln Riley because they did work together in Oklahoma, and Lincoln Riley, what he's doing now is he's saying, I'm not thinking of leaving, because he's smart. He knows, unlike Freddie Kitchens, if he says, I'm thinking of leaving, people are going to quit. He understands to say, oh, no, I'm committed to the team. And he can back out, and then people are like, oh, yeah, I understand. He's taking the job at Dallas. He's taking the job in Cleveland. I think Lincoln Riley would be a good coach because he understands and he gets it. But a guy like Freddie Kitchens doesn't. He doesn't understand. He's not going to get another shot at the apple. Ben McAdoo, he didn't really understand it that much. He wanted to get rid of Eli, but he didn't understand where he was. You're in New York, and he is Eli Manning. It's not going to work out. It's not really going to work out. The next coaching hire for the Giants, you better not wish to bring in your own personnel, because there's Dave Gettleman right there, and he's going to control all the personnel. So you got to know where you're going. You got to know what situation you're in. And yeah, that's pretty much all I got to say. We'll look more into the coaching hires later. I think you fire Freddie Kitchens. I think you have to. He doesn't get it. He doesn't understand. He doesn't quite fit with Baker Mayfield. Doesn't quite fit in with Cleveland. And the team, they're just giving up on him. How do you only put up 13 points against the Pittsburgh Steelers? I get it with the great defense, but then Pittsburgh puts up 20 on you and beats you. I mean, you got to find a way to win those games. You got to find a way to beat the Broncos. You got to find a way to win these games. They've shown, I guess, flashes, which is a good thing. But this process had better worked earlier. I don't trust Freddie Kitchens. I'm not sure about you guys. Let me know what you guys think. I think Lincoln Riley would be a good coach. Now that I'm thinking through it. But there's so many coaching opportunities out there, and we need to find a guy who fits with Baker Mayfield. Freddie Kitchens ended up not being that guy. But, the Browns have a lot of talent. They do. You got to figure out that offensive line. Maybe trade Odell. Trade a guy. Bring in some offensive line pieces and create some accountability in this locker room. Anyway, let me know what you guys think about everything I discussed in this video, whether I'm right, wrong, somewhere in between. And I'll see you in my next video. Bye, guys.